Removing envelopes from beneath the blue belt of the iJetColor 1175 printer. For the following video, you will need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 1/16 Allen. If you've experienced a jam where the belt no longer runs, or you believe there's media underneath the print head or the sides, then you'll want to follow this video through closely. First, begin by opening the front cover on the 1175. Switch down the latch of the print head and spin it off. Allow the print head to raise, and now we will want to inspect for any envelopes underneath the print head area. Often when a jam occurs, they will end up underneath the print platen, and we'll have to remove the print platen in order to see them and take them out. Using a 1/16 Allen, insert it into the print platen and loosen the screw. The screw is rather long, so it is easier to keep track of and not to lose. Once fully loosened, remove the screw and set aside. You can remove the print platen by lifting on the front and pulling it back. We can now see inside and ensure there are no envelopes underneath the print head. You should be able to turn the belt manually to ensure there are no envelopes stuck underneath. Place your palm on the belt and pull. While there is strong resistance because you are manually turning rollers, you should be able to turn it with your hand. If the belt is too stuck to move, you may have to look inside with a flashlight to ensure there are no envelopes underneath, or the envelopes might have jammed on the other side of the belt, which we'll get to in our next step. If there are envelopes underneath the print head in the platen area but you cannot get access to them, you'll want to remove the print head for better access. To do so, you can take off the E-clip that holds the gas lift to the front of the print head. The E-clip is found right here. And sneaking your fingernail behind it, you can twist it off and it'll come right off. Now, if you disconnect the gas lift, be careful. You want to have a supporting hand underneath it, holding it, because you have to hold up the print head to replace the weight of the gas lift. So it's a two-hand process, and then carefully let the print head drop back down in order to ensure it does not slam. Removing the gas lift and dropping the print head down slowly, we can now move to the back of the printer. There are 4 screws that secure the print head onto its base. 2 on the right-hand side, as shown here. And there are 2 on the left-hand side, below the motor cover, as shown here on the very top. Removing the 4 screws on the back of the print head, you can lift the print head off of the table, and you'll now have access to the platen area to remove any remaining media. Reassembling everything, if we still cannot move the belt with our hand, but we know that there's no media underneath, or we can move it with our hand, but we hear a almost clicking noise or a ruffling noise such as media underneath, there might be media underneath the entire blue belt assembly that we need to get access to. To do that, we'll move on to removing the covers and the feeder to see on either side of the blue belt assembly. The exit side front plate is held on with a total of 6 screws. There's a Phillips, a Phillips, a Phillips, a Phillips, a Phillips, and a Phillips. Remove these to see underneath in case media has gotten stuck below the belt. Be careful at the last part as the plate will likely fall, so support it with your one hand while removing the screws. Remove both the plates and set aside. With the covers removed, we can now look below the blue belt on the exit side. In our case, there is no media, but you most likely will have media stuck underneath here. And if you see media but cannot get easy access to it, you can use your palm on the belt in order to turn the belt manually to move the media so you can fish it out with your hand. Once you remove all the media from the exit side, we'll move on to the entry side near the feeder. To get access to the feeder side of the blue belt, remove the 2 thumb screws below the feeder. Set those aside. Using the handle on the feeder, pull the feeder back, and we can now see inside the machine and underneath the belt. If you look very closely underneath there, you can see if there's any media, and you should be able to have full access now on either side of the belt to ensure that any stuck media can be removed. Rotating the belt around several more times. If no media comes out, you can now put the covers back on. Begin by sliding the feeder back into position and reinstall the screws. Reinstall the exit side plate. Do not tighten the screws down fully until all 6 of them are in, because you'll have to reposition the metal plate with all 6 screws loosely installed. We'll want to position the plate so it does not stop the belt. So if you have it all the way up, the belt will not be able to turn without rubbing, and you'll know this because when it's running, you'll hear a almost grinding noise, or the belt might not turn at all. So just reposition it so you do have a gap. This is just to help prevent media from easily going back into the belt. Lastly, we can open our front cover back up, lift the printhead. If we now verify there is no media stuck inside the rollers for the print platen, we can reinstall the print platen. And we can reinstall the screw for the print platen using our 1/16 Allen. Close down the printhead and latch it, and close the front cover. Do note when you have a jam, the motor will stop running for safety if it senses too much current or an overload. So it is very possible that you will clear your jam, and when you tell the printer to start, it will no longer run the belts. In order to run the belts again after having a jam, once you've cleared it, you'll have to power cycle the base of the unit so it resets the motor controller. So moving to the back of the printer, you can turn off the printhead if you have not already. And moving down to the very bottom corner, you can turn off the power to the entire unit. And when you turn this off, you'll want to leave it off for about 10 to 15 seconds before turning it back on and letting it boot up. And then that will reset our motor controller so that it can once again run the motors. If it seems like it runs the motor for a brief second and then it stops, again, repeat the process as previously shown, as media might still be hiding somewhere in your belt area. Once the printhead's fully booted up, which generally takes 90 seconds after a cold power up, of turning it on the back and ensuring the front light on the front stays on, you can then run the printer, going into the DFE, clicking on the gear icon, and start the belt in the software. Once the belt is started, ensure that it does run, ensure that it does not catch on the plate that you positioned, and that everything looks normal.